What's the story, guys? Just want to do a little review on Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. I've put off watching this one because it just got absolutely slammed when it came out, and it looked like trash, I'll be honest with you, when they were leading up to it. So I only really got round to looking at it now. But I gotta be honest with you, I had a great time watching it. And that's why I just said the title of this video. I think it's an unfairly maligned bad film. Now, it is a bad film, don't get me wrong. And I just want to say straight up front that I have a weakness for a bad film if it's got a good heart or its intentions are in the right place. I mean, case in point, stuff like Assassin's Creed. You know, like, not the best film in the world, but they did have a good reason as to how the main protagonist ended up gaining all the skills he did. They had to put him through a program in order to get the information they needed to get the apple. And in fairness to them, they did whole swathes of the film in a foreign language, which took guts. Also, stuff like Gods of Egypt. Not the best film in the world either, but it has some great visuals. I mean, you literally had a sun god fighting a chaos demon as it dragged the sun across a flat earth by a chain. That's something you just don't see. And likewise, if you look at the King Arthur Legend of the Sword film that came out, that got completely trashed. But it's the first King Arthur film that's been out in ages that actually had a good bit of magic in it. In fact, I think Excalibur was probably the one that would actually have a good bit of magic in it before it. So I'll give it credit for that. And likewise here, you know, Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, it's not going to win any Oscars. It's not brilliant. You definitely wouldn't pay to see it in the cinema. But it's a good streaming film. Because at its heart, beyond all the flaws it has, it's a love letter to Carpenter. I mean, this thing feels like it's set in the 80s, not the 90s like it's supposed to be. The musical score is very in line with things like The Thing and The Fog. And indeed, if you look at the credits, I think towards the end, it's almost straight off The Thing, I think. So the production team behind this definitely went into this with the intention of trying to do a love letter to those kind of films. And I got to be honest with you, you know, like I said, when you look at the early production stills that look so cheap and tacky, cinematographically, this thing looks fantastic. It really does capture the feel of like a John Carpenter film, and the slow progress in which people devolve into zombies over time. You know, it really lent the way to the atmosphere in the place. They really did manage to capture a sense of foreboding and increasing dread. They have lovingly reproduced many scenes from the games in terms of the police station, in terms of the mansion, some of the labs. I mean, whatever decisions we're making higher up in terms of casting and in terms of scripting, you know, like, that's somebody else's department. But the production lads who actually put the thing together, they did their damnedest to make this thing a love letter to those 80s horrors. So from that point of view, this film really charmed me. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. There's nobody in it you'd really know. I mean, Neil McDonough is probably the biggest star in it. He plays Williams. It's like the doctor's experiment with the T-virus. And then Robbie Amell, which I think is the guy who plays Green Arrow, it's his brother. They're probably the two most likely to know. The guy who plays Wesker is a fella called Tom Hopper, I think. I really like him. I don't know much about him as an actor at all, but he's got good presence, and he played the part of Wesker well. Made him far more sympathetic than I was expecting. And I gotta say, as a fan of the video games, it was great to see elements like puzzle solving, like the bit where they play Moon Knight Sonata to get the door open to get down to one of the cages, to, you know, having to get keys to open elevators, stuff like that. I thought they integrated them pretty well into things so it didn't look too obtuse. And it's just a shame that other elements of it really bring it down. For instance, there's an awful lot of feminism dripping off this thing. Girls are always shown to be in incredible positions of power and strength in this. Like, Claire does not act like Claire. Leon is just a complete joke. I mean, I don't even know why he was in this, except for possibly a scene at the end. I mean, we know he's meant to be a rookie. We know it's meant to be his first day in the job. But he's not incompetent. And he's continually having to be shown to be saved by other people, specifically Claire, who was never this much of a bitch in the games. They race swap a lot of the characters, which wouldn't really be an issue if the characters actually act like the characters, but they don't, so that makes it even worse. So half the time you're not sure who you're actually watching. And there are just moments in the film where the characters just don't seem like who they are and don't talk like who they would to other characters. Like, specifically, like I said, Claire to Leon. They're telling him to get his shit together and stuff. That's just not Claire. But if you can set that aside, and like I said, if you're just going to stream it, there's some really nice bits in it. The attack in the mansion, for instance, goes off fantastically. You know, like, you actually have shuffling zombies being a threat. There's some nice sequences where Chris is being attacked by zombies, and you can only really see them by the muzzle flare of his gun as he's shooting them. They build the scene up to that nicely in terms of foreboding. And like I said, when they actually get to see a proper zombie and it comes at them, it freaks them out. You do get a genuine sense that these guys could die at any moment. The introduction to the liquor in this thing is far more faithful to the game than it was in the other Anderson movies. and is in line with beats from what you would have seen in the video games. I mean, that's one of the things I really appreciate. They do touch on a lot of things that you would have seen in Resident Evil 1 and Resident Evil 2. I mean, I know it's only a small thing, but it was actually great to see a proper torrent with those big eyeballs sticking out of its shoulder. And just like in the video game, it ends up being taken out on the train on the way out. So if you're a fan of the video games and you can get past how they've kind of messed up some of the characters, I think you'll really enjoy the feel of this film, because that's what really got to me more than anything else. Like I said, it actually feels like a proper Resident Evil film. Probably the most faithful that they've done. And considering the state of Hollywood presently, I think that's pretty much the best you're going to get. So look, that in that perspective, I give this, say, about 7 out of 10. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. A lot more than I expected. Maybe I went in with low expectations considering the absolute trashing it's got from every other critic. Maybe it's just the fact that I'm a fan of those old John Carpenter films, like stuff like The Thing and The Fog in particular. There's an awful good feeling of that, resonating with this film. So if you've got appreciation of that genre, and you're, like I've said, a fan of the series, check this out. I think you'll actually enjoy it a lot more than you'd expect. Like, we'd be quite persuaded. I can see this being something that was repeated at night, like on television just for laughs. A kind of a station for everything, because it's only like 1 hour, 50 minute long. So I can see this getting a bit of a cult following down the road. But if you're just a normie just looking in at this, I don't think it'll be for you. I think you'll be probably taken aback at how cheap it looks more than anything else. Like I said, that's what ties back to those other old films. But like I said, if you like me and you like bad films, like just for popcorn munching, this is good. This is actually acceptable. So give it a shot, and I think you might be surprised. Like I said, it's much more maligned than I think it deserves. So there you go, guys. That's my review of Resident Evil Raccoons. Welcome to Raccoon City. If you like this, like and subscribe, and leave me comments. Let me know what you think.